Hi guys, Erin here. In this video, you'll learn a rule of thumb of how many participants you should have in your sample, what your sample size should be. So our goal as a researcher is to select a sample that's representative of the population. We talked a lot about this in the last video. So how many participants do we need? Well, we will need a large sample most likely because it will probably give us a more representative sample than if we had a smaller sample size with diminishing returns. This is the law of large numbers. This makes sense, but people tend to forget it. Let me give you an example from a study that was published in the 70s by Tversky and Kahneman. It's the babies born in a hospital problem. Imagine there's two hospitals in the town called Pleasantville. In the larger hospital, about 45 babies are born each day. In the smaller hospital, about 15 babies are born each day. As you know, 50% of all babies are boys. The exact percentage, however, will vary day to day. Sometimes they'll be higher than 50%, and sometimes they'll be lower than 50%. For 1 year, each hospital recorded the days in which more than 60% of the babies born were boys. Here's the question for you. Which hospital do you think recorded more such days? A large hospital, the small hospital, or both hospitals reported similar results? Why don't you pause the video here and see if you can figure that out? Well, when I posed the question to our class at 2P52 last year, here are the answers they gave. If you thought about the same, you're not alone. This is actually the answer that most of the participants in that original study by Tversky and Kahneman reported. But the answer is not that. The answer is actually the smaller hospital. Why is that? Well, you know, there's always a chance that unexpected things happen, like 5 babies in a row will be born that are boys. Variation happens, but it's more common when we have a smaller sample size. When we have a larger sample size, our results that we get are more likely to be aligned with the results that we would get from our target population. They're more likely to be aligned with that 50%, which is the true number. So if we were to actually do a study, imagine we were doing a study where we're describing the percentage of boys and girls that are born at the St. Catherine's Hospital. If we took a small sample size, it would be more likely that our results would be skewed. If we had a larger sample size, it's more likely that our results would be an accurate reflection of the truth. This is an idea that Kahneman and Tversky actually developed a lot, and they said that people in general are not very good at making decisions because we tend to rely on our intuitions rather than thinking logically through the answer. Do you remember in week 1 when we talked about the different ways of knowing? Intuition was one of them. They actually won the Nobel Prize in economics for some of their work in this field. I encourage you to check out more in this book, Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. It's super interesting read. And if you want to know more, ask me about the gambler's fallacy in our next meeting. So coming back to our class, how many participants do we need to recruit? The law of large numbers says we probably need a lot, but with diminishing returns. Here's a figure from your textbook. It shows the average distance between the mean we might get in our sample versus the mean we'd get in the population as a function of the number of people we have in our sample. So you can see that if we just had a few people, it's more likely that our answers will be further away from the truth. And as we have more people, our answer will get more closely aligned with what that true population mean answer is, but with diminishing returns. This isn't a diagonal slope. There's a bit of a logarithmic thing going on here. So the more participants, the better, but we can't test forever. A sample size of about 25 to 30 participants for every group or condition that you're testing is a good rule of thumb. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.